Hey everybody, how you doing? This is Matt, and in today's video I have for you a Yu-Gi-Oh! Master Duel video. This time, my Theme Chronicle Amazement deck list. That's right. So for any of y'all who have seen the last video I posted, was an Adventures of video featuring, that's right, the Amazement deck archetype playing in the Theme Chronicle Festival. So right now in Master Duel, there's a Theme Chronicle Festival where a bunch of deck archetypes are banned, and the point of that festival of the Theme Chronicle is they only want you to play decks that were showcased or featured in solo mode of Master Duel, right? So they banned almost every other archetype. However, there's one control trap deck archetype that slipped through the cracks that I was able to play, and that deck is Amazement. So you can go watch some of the replays of the games in my last video. But yeah, this deck is quite good. It came out so in the TCG. This trap control deck released after Eldritch and before Labyrinth. So yeah, between those two big milestones of trap decks, we did get a trap deck, but it's just that the thing is, Amazement was never really amazing in the TCG because it's a lot of their archetype cards are kind of underwhelming. But for the purpose of this festival, which is the Theme Chronicle, where almost every deck that you play is going to be significantly weaker than what you would expect to encounter in the regular, like Ranked Master Duel or in like the TCG, then this deck is perfectly fine for playing here. In fact, I found a lot of success. I got a lot of wins. Yeah, it's a very good deck, and I highly recommend y'all pick it up. It is not very expensive of a deck. There's only 3 ultra rares associated with the deck. And you might think, oh, that's a lot, because not a lot of people have ultra rare crafting materials. But I think like once you craft like one of the ultra rares, it'll unlock you the pack, and then from there you can like maybe use your gems to buy 10 packs of the set. The Amazement cards come in through, and then maybe you'll probably hit most of them. But I mean, most of the other traps are like normal, rare, and then there's like a number of super rares. But anyway. Yeah, I had a lot of fun with this deck. Why did I not play Dark Magician? Because, like I said in my other video, Dark Magician just feels sad, yo. Like we don't have a boss monster. We still don't have Illusion of Chaos, so our consistency is garbage. It just feels so bad to play Dark Magician. Like all I want in the Dark Magician is to set up Dark Magician with Dark Magical Circle and Eternal Soul. So 3 cards to establish 1 interruption that can recur every turn, and even that like you can't really do consistently. And yeah, it just feels super bad. I tried playing Dark Magician in this festival. I did not have a good time. If you want to see Dark Magician in this festival, in the Theme Chronicle Festival, go look at Lawl's channel. He recently put out a video where he's playing it. He doesn't look like he's having that great of a time, but he is getting some wins, right? So yeah. So unfortunately, I do not play Dark Magician. And that's another reason I don't play Dark Magician, even regular Master Duel. Like, who's our boss monster? Destroyer, Phoenix, Enforcer? Like, what's supposed to be the end board here? Mirror Jade? Like, I'd rather, like, if DP is going to be my boss monster, I'd rather play Heroes. If Mirror Jade is going to be my boss monster, I'd rather play just Branded Despia, right? So it just never felt good to play Dark Magician in Master Duel. That's why you haven't really seen me do it. Even though in Master Duel we have Triple Upstart, Triple Chicken Game, which are hilariously fun cards in Dark Magician, and I hope in the TCG both those cards come back to 3, but alas. Anyway, so let's get into this deck profile. So similar to previous deck lists, I'm going to break down my thought process. Basically, let's start with the Amazement Core. So the Amazement Core, in my opinion, as in like these are probably the minimum that you should play of the archetype, right? Like the most important cards. So 3 copies of Amazement Administrator Arlecchino. This guy is your boss monster. He's a level 7, 2600 attack. So you can tell he was released after Eldritch because his attack is 2600, right? Eldritch is 2500. Lovely Lady of the Labyrinth is, or Lovely Labyrinth is 2900, and then Lady Labyrinth is 3000. So that's how you can get an idea for when do these control trap decks come out relative to each other. Just look at their attack, right? Speaking of, another thing that will give away that this was released after Eldritch but before Labyrinth. Let's read the effect. So this effect says, once per turn, you can banish any number of attraction traps from your graveyard, then target that many cards your opponent controls, destroy them. So pretty good effect. You can theoretically pop like an entire field, right? Depending how many of the traps you have in your graveyard. Typically, you'll have between 1 and 3. I doubt you'll have more than 3. There was no duel where I had more than 3. Next effect. You can use each of the following effects of Amazement, Administrator, Arlecchino once per turn. If a trap card is activated, except during the damage step, you can special summon this card from your hand. So, remember how it was to summon Eldritch, right? So, to summon Eldritch, you have to send Eldritch to the graveyard first by sending it with a spell trap. You then get rid of a card from the field. Then you have to set a spell trap, and then use Eldritch from the graveyard to remove that spell trap to return to the hand, and then special, right? So there was like this, in my opinion, overly complicated way to summon Eldritch. How does Lady Labyrinth of the Silver Castle summon itself? Lady Labyrinth says if you activated a Labyrinth card effect or a normal trap card this turn, then you can just special her from your hand. So yeah, you can tell based on the timeline, like, this guy can summon himself one chain immediately after a trap card is activated from either side of the field, right? So not quite as good as Lady, but obviously better than Eldritch in my opinion. So yeah, because it came out after Eldritch and before Lady Labyrinth. So and then let's look at the final clause or effect. It says if your opponent normals or special summons a monster, except during the damage step, you can target one of those face-up monsters they control, equip one attraction trap from your deck to that target. So basically, you get to quote-unquote search one of your Amazement attraction traps from your deck, immediately activate it and attach it to your opponent's monsters. So the gimmick behind this deck is the Amazement traps. They become essentially equip spells, or they equip to monsters either on your field or your opponent's field, and then they do different effects depending on which one. So yeah, I do run 3 of this guy because I want to see him as often as possible, and he's so easy to special summon that honestly, like, I don't even mind opening 2 of these. I mean, granted, this is the Theme Chronicle, right? This is not like full power Yu-Gi-Oh! So, you know, we could have some leeways. I think, yeah, 3 is fine. I run 3 Lady Labyrinth for the same reason. It's just so easy to summon to your hand. Like, it's not like Eldritch where you have to commit so many resources to get one of them out, right? They're very easy to summon. So 3 of these. I'm running 2 Amazement Attendant Kamika's. This is basically the Ariana of our deck. This is our normal summon. So she's a level 4, 1400. She reads, when this card is normal summon, you can set an attraction trap directly from your deck. And then quick effect, you can target one of your attraction traps equipped to a monster, equip it to an Amazement monster you control, or a face-up monster your opponent controls. So basically, you know how I said the Amazement traps can equip to either your monster or your opponent's monsters? Well, Kamika is cool because she can literally like change who they're equipped to, so that's cool. And you can also like change them between your own monsters, right? As you may have seen in some of my the duels in my Adventures of video. Yeah, so some players like to run 3 of her. I think 2 is fine, especially because of the next card I'm about to show you. But yeah, this card is it's pretty solid. I'm not gonna lie. Like it's a good normal summon, and almost I'll talk about what traps she sets from the deck later. But the next card I want to talk about is Amazing Time Ticket. So this is a quick play spell that reads: pay 800 life points. Apply this effect depending whose turn it is. If it's your turn, add an Amazement card from your deck to your hand. If it's your opponent's turn, set an attraction trap directly from your deck. It can be activated this turn. So on your opponent's turn, it's like a better trap trick. On your turn, it's a Rhoda, essentially, right? So I run 2 of these because it says you can only activate 1 Amazing Time Ticket per turn. So soft once per turn. Same with Kamika, so that's why these are at 2 each. But basically, Amazing Time Ticket almost always searches Kamika. Whereas, I mean, if you already have Kamika, you would search Arlecchino, and vice versa. So you already have Arlecchino, you search Kamika. So yeah. And then finally, the remainder of the core, we have 3 copies of Amaze Attraction Horror House, 3 copies of Amaze Attraction Cyclocoaster, and 1 copy of the Amaze Attraction Majestic Merry-Go-Round. So this core to the So the core of our Amazement deck is a whopping 14 cards. So it's bigger than the Eldritch core. It's bigger than the Labyrinth core. It's a sizable core. And in fact, there are other cards here that some people like to add. Some people like to add the Viking. What is this called? Viking Vortex. I did attempt to run one of these. It's a pretty solid card, but I ended up cutting it because I didn't think it was that good. Some people like to play Family Faces. I ran 2 of these at one point, but I ended up cutting them because I think that it just didn't do enough. So yeah, I think in terms of core, in terms of the minimum number like cards of the archetype, I think this is good enough, honestly. 14 cards. Now let's run through the traps, right? So Amaze Attraction Cyclo Coaster. What does this do? So target one amazing monster you control or one face-up monster your opponent controls. By the way, this is a normal trap. Equip this card to it. You can activate the following effects based on which player controls the equipped monster. So the second sentence which you can activate. So in one chain link, you have to flip this card to equip it to a monster, and on a future chain link, you actually use one of these effects, right? So you cannot use. It's similar to an Umi control, the stealth C attack or whatever, where you have to flip it on one chain and then use this effect on a subsequent chain. Same thing here. You have to kind of preemptively flip this and attach it before using its effect. Alright, so if this is equipped to one of your monsters, you can, again, since this is a trap card, it's a quick effect, target one spell trap your opponent controls, send both it and this card to the graveyard. If it's equipped to your opponent's monster, you can add one amazement monster from your deck to your hand, and if you do, send this card to the graveyard. So this card can get Ash, but this is effectively another Rhoda, right? So we have like multiple ways to get it to our monsters. We have the Amazing Time Tickets, can search these 5 monsters, and we have the Attraction Cyclo Coaster, can search these 5 monsters. And if you don't need to search, this can get rid of a spell trap card without popping, which means if Lord of the Heavenly Prison is revealed, you can still get rid of the spell trap, right? Because it doesn't destroy. And whereas Lord of the Heavenly Prison only protects from destruction, right? Next, Amaze Attraction Horror House. In my opinion, this is the best of the cards. So let's read what this says. Target one amazement monster you control or one face-up monster your opponent controls. Equip this card to it. You can activate the following effect based on which player controls the equipped monster. So same as the Cyclo Coaster. You have to use the effect on a chain after you flip it face up and equip it. So if this is equipped to one of your monsters, you can target an effect monster your opponent controls and negate its effects until the end of the turn. So essentially, it becomes like an imperm every turn. It's a targeted monster negate. That's a trap card. It just doesn't negate the column, right? However, if this card is attached to your opponent's monster, you can change the equipped monster to face down defense position. So basically like a Book of Moon effect. However, if you use this effect to flip your opponent's monster face down, then face down monsters can no longer be equipped with cards. This card will immediately go to the graveyard. Whereas if it's attached to your monster and you use this effect to negate, it stays equipped to that monster. You can use it every turn. So, yeah, sometimes you want to use this to flip one of your opponent's monsters face out. Sometimes you want to use it to negate. I'll get into its use cases shortly. And then finally, one copy of Amaze Attraction Majestic Merry-Go-Round. So the reason I run a one of this card is because it's searchable, but also because it's a battle phase related card. So it reads, target an amazement monster you control or one face-up monster your opponent controls, and equip this card to it. You can apply the following effect based on which player controls the monster. So if your monster is equipped with this card, the equipped monster gains 500 attack. If it would be destroyed by a battle card effect, you can send this card to graveyard instead. So it's destruction protection, and it gives 500 attack. So you can literally flip this, like if they try to swing into you, you can flip this on damage step or damage calculation, and they can't respond without like a negate. Or like they're committed to the attack declaration. However, if it's equipped to your opponent's monster, then it says the equipped monster loses 500 attack for each of your attraction traps equipped to monsters. So by itself, this reduces your opponent's monster by 500 attack. But if you have, like, let's say you also have the Cyclo Coaster, let's say you also have Horror House, then it decreases them by 500 attack additionally on top of that for each one that you have on the field that's equipped. So yeah, this is just to help you beat over some of those bigger boss monsters, right? Because this right here allows the Amazement Administrator Arlecchino to surpass 3,000 attack and beat over 3,000 attack monsters. So that by itself is like typically enough to justify one of. All right, so how exactly does this deck work, or how are you supposed to use these cards? So one thing I like to do is, let's say you have Amazing Time Ticket and you have none of these other cards in your hand. You activate it. You search Attendant Comica. You normal summon Attendant Comica. Attendant Comica will set a Horror House directly from your deck, and then you can set whatever other back row you have on your opponent's draw phase. You flip Horror House attached to Comica. Now you have basically a targeted monster negate whenever you want. Going forward, right? Once per turn, obviously. So let's say your opponent normals a monster, you activates effect like Stratos, for example. You can immediately activate Amaze Attraction Horror House and negate that monster, right? And yeah, and if they try to like swing into Comica, you could right before she dies, because she's only 1,400 attack, you can use her effect to move the Horror House from herself to your opponent's monster, so that if she dies, you don't lose this card. You can still use it, right? So that's, one way you could do it. If you already open Horror House and Amazing Time Ticket, then you do the same thing, except instead of using Comica to set a second Horror House from the deck, you can set Cyclo Coaster, because Cyclo Coaster basically can be a spell trap pop for your Comica, or it could be a search for your Arlecchino. So the way this would work is, so on your draw phase, you flip Horror House and Cyclo Coaster, and you would attach both of them to Comica, right? And then, if you need to get rid of an opponent's spell trap, you can use the Cyclo Coaster. If you don't, if they go into monsters and don't use spell traps, you can use Comica to transfer your Cyclo Coaster to their monster, and then activate Cyclo Coaster to send itself to the graveyard and search Arlecchino. And then, if you use Horror House to after you search Arlecchino to hand, this is well, I guess if it's face up, you can't trigger Arlecchino's effect. So yeah, and if you use any other trap card, like face down to face up, then you can then special Arlecchino to the field. Another thing you can do, let's say you already have Arlecchino on the field, right? Let's say your opponent summons a monster. Let's say it's a Crusadia monster, which is very common, right? You can activate Amazement. So on summon, you can activate Amazement's Administrator Arlecchino, and then you basically target the monster they just summoned, so normal, they're special, and then equip from your deck immediately Horror House. And then now that Horror House is equipped to your opponent's monster, you can, if you want, either use this effect to Book of Moon that monster so it can't be linked away, or if you have Comica on the field, you can use Comica to transfer Horror House back to your administrator, and then your administrator now has a monster negate. So you have options. There's a lot of like different interactions like that you can use. So yeah, so that's basically your Amazement engine. It's not great. Like, it doesn't have the gas that like Labyrinth or Eldritch do. Like, for example, like, yeah, the normal summon searches one card, and the Arlecchino searches a card only if your opponent does something and it's on the field. But after that, like, by itself, it doesn't really search much. And also, the cards it searches aren't that amazing either, right? Even though this archetype is called Amazement, they're honestly not that amazing. Anyway, all right, let's get into other core cards that I think should be in most, if not all, trap decks. Starting with Lord of the Heavenly Prison. So you will be facing a lot of Crusadia in this festival. Crusadia is a going second deck that loves to that put in a bunch of back row, like board blowout, right? So this will protect your back row. You definitely need triple Lord. Lord can obviously, when you summon it off its second effect, you can set Amazing Time Ticket onto your field, and then on the subsequent turn immediately activate it to get your Amazement engine going. Or you can set one of your other awesome spell traps that are in the deck, which I'll get into now. So our pot cards, you guessed it, double Extravagance, double Duality, just like my other decks. These cards can be searched off Lord. You never want to see more than one of a given copy in your hand, and it's just more gas for your deck, right? You want to generate advantage. So the thing about trap decks is you want to generate advantage, right? And your pot cards help you do that. Lord of the Heavenly Prison can search and set Pot of Extravagance. You're never going to play your third copy, so yeah, pot cards, very good. Next, 3 copies of Solemn Strike. This card is just gas, like it's so good. It just like destroys whatever boss monster or annoying monster you don't want to deal with. This card will take care of that for you, going first or second. And finally, we run 2 copies of Trap Trick because so all our Amazement traps are normal traps, right? Obviously, we only have 1 copy of the Merry-Go-Round, but you're never really going to want to go into the Merry-Go-Round anyway. And then, of course, the other cards that we're going to be playing in this deck are also normal traps that Trap Trick can go into. But Trap Trick just adds 2 more copies of all your normal traps, right? Alright, so this is the quote-unquote core of the deck. And now let's get into optional cards. So I am running 3 copies of Torrential Tribute. This card is just way too good. It's way too good. I mean, your administrator, I mean, you ideally don't want to kill your administrator, right? But he's so easy to summon that if you like just drew another one, that you can immediately like Torrential Tribute, kill the administrator, kill your opponent's board, obviously. And if you kill the administrator on your field, you can literally summon another one from your hand immediately, right? So But yeah, it's just this is just way too good of like board clear. And with Trap Trick, you have 5 copies. Like just get it, put it in. Don't hesitate. Unfortunately, we do not have Dogmatic Punishment in this festival. It was banned, unfortunately. I don't know why. Like, if they didn't want a dogmatic engine, they should have banned, like, Nadir Servants, Ecclesia, whatever. But Punishment itself is, like, such a generically good card. It's kind of weird that they just banned it straight up. But, so, yeah, we don't have access to Punishment. But we are playing Ice Dragon's Prison. So, Ice Dragon's Prison is amazing against any of the zombie decks you see in Theme Chronicle. Or even Dark World, right? It beats Mayakashi. It beats vampires. It beats Dark World, right? So there's just a lot of decks that just straight up like hard wins against. So yeah, I do like Ice Dragon's Prison. Also, Ice Dragon's Prison is just like another way to out an annoying monster. So another archetype that you'll see a lot of in this is Cyburst decks, right? Cyburst decks that can either go in IP or Avermax or whatever. Maybe make an annoying Cyburst monster that's really hard to out. Ice Dragon's Prison can help you out. It can help you out Avermax, right? Otherwise, how are you going to out Avermax? Because Avermax can't be targeted, and most of your cards target. And if Avermax was made with IP, then you can't even pop it. So, yeah, it feels bad. So yeah, Ice Dragon's Prison, really important. We have 2 copies of Tears of the Underroot, or Overroot, sorry. Yeah, this is the new trap that came out. Go watch my Labyrinth deck profile video, and I talk more about this card. But yeah, this card removes cards from the field, front row or back row cards. It's really good. And basically, you control your opponent with Tears of the Overroot, where you sometimes you want to, like, after you take out a monster on their field, you can set a card of theirs that is like a brick or useless, that doesn't do anything for you, right? All right, so we're at 33 cards. The last traps, so that's all our normal traps. The final traps I'm going to add are counter traps and floodgates. So let's talk about floodgates. I do love me some Imperial Iron Wall. So Imperial Iron Wall is great against a lot of the decks in this format. This card hard wins against Weather Painter. Weather Painter was about the 3rd or 4th most popular deck that I saw in this format. It wins against the Skull Servant deck. So I've seen players playing Skull Servant. Against Dark Magician, they can't use Dark Magical Circle to banish your stuff if this is on the field, so what the hell are they doing with their deck? Nothing, right? Yeah, there's a lot of banishing that goes on. Scrap Orcust. Orcust can't do anything without banishing, right? So, yeah, Imperial Iron Wall just shuts down a lot of those decks. So I like this card a lot. I'm keeping it at 2 of. Obviously, it has anti-synergy with Trap Trick, Ice Dragons, and Exotic Extravagance, but, again, most of the time it doesn't matter, or like the anti-synergy, especially between Ice Dragons, is such that if Imperial Iron Wall is good against a certain deck, Ice Dragons is not, and vice versa. If Ice Dragons is good, Imperial Iron Wall is not. So you likely won't be needing to play both anyway, right? But if you do like have Imperial Iron Wall, Ice Dragons can still revive one of their monsters, right? Let's say they just have like a 3k beater, like they discard a Nibiru or whatever. You can just nab it from their graveyard. Now you have a big beater, right? I've used it so many times, Ice Dragons, to just grab a monster from their graveyard and use it to beat them over the head with it. So, yeah, like so it's not that anti-synergistic if you have both of these. And in terms of Extrav, well, you know, Extrav you usually play on turn 1, and Iron Wall doesn't flip until at least turn 2. So, you know, it's not that big a deal. Like, during my time playing the festival, it never came up a situation where, like, oh, I was, like, screwed out of banishing. I screwed myself out of banishing. Yes, Iron Wall does shut down Arcolino's first effect, which says banish attraction traps in your graveyard and pop your opponent's cards. But then again, I don't care that much about that effect anyway. Because, I mean, if you have too many of these attraction traps in your graveyard in the first place, like, you kind of messed up, right? Like, or you're probably messing up somewhere. So usually, again, you flip this because it hurts your opponent more than it hurts you, right? That's the idea here. So this is the only floodgate that is good, that is still legal, because in this festival they ban Gozen, There Can Be Only One, Skill Drain, etc. So yeah, so this is the only one that we run. And then for other counter traps, we run 2 copies of Solemn Judgment, 2 copies of Broken Line. That's right, Broken Line is back. Solemn Judgment is here because we need more back row protection. Like, we're not running Virus, like Eradicator or Pendangle Virus. And also, again, the most common matchup you'll probably see is Crusadia, and they will almost always have back row clear. Speaking of back row clear, Imperial Iron Wall can protect against evenly matched. So against Lightning Storm and Feather Duster, you have 3 copies of Lord, 2 copies of Judgment, and then you have 4 pots that can draw you into them, right? You also have Broken Line. If you set Broken Line in the right column, you can actually, and they play Feather Duster in that column or whatever, you can actually negate that, right? Although most of the time, Broken Line is best going second because you let your opponent set up their board, you set Broken Line in the column where of the cards you want to negate, right? So you know what column the cards are already in, right? Yeah, and then obviously Imperial Iron Wall and a Judgment stops evenly matched. So yeah, you're gonna see a lot of that in this festival, unfortunately. So that's why these are in here. All right, so we're at 39 cards. So what is the 40th card? So I actually play 1 copy of Card of Demise. That's right. So I do run 1 Card of Demise in this deck. Why not 2 when 2 is legal? Because this card, you never want to see this card turn 1. Let's be honest here. This is a card that you pretty much strictly only want to see turn 2 onward. And most of the time, you can because you have Lord of the Heavenly Prison. Because Lord of the Heavenly Prison can set Card of Demise from your deck to your field, right? Because if you see this turn 1, first of all, let's say you see this turn 1 with 4 traps. You set 4. If you Card Demise, you'll draw 3, but then you can only set 1, and then the other 2 get thrown away. So that's silly, right? If you open Lord of the Heavenly Prison in your hand with this card, that's super anti-synergy. You never want that to happen because then it's like, all right, well, I care more about protecting my back row than I care about drawing 3 cards. So again, this card is strictly for follow-up for turn 2 onward, right? So this, it's also why you never see me run this card in my other trap decks because of the fact that it makes your turn 1 hand a lot weaker. This is best for turn 2 onward. Like if you don't, but since we're in this the Theme Chronicle where the decks you're playing are not that good and probably will not kill you on turn 1 unless it's like Crusadia, then yeah, Card of Demise is fine. It'll probably not break your hand single-handedly. So yeah, I think 1 copy of Card of Demise is fine. If you don't like this card, you don't want to craft it. Guess what? Broken Line is a rare. Just have a 3rd Broken Line. Broken Line is not once per turn. Similar to Solemn Strike, it is not once per turn. And you can just set a bunch of cards right in the right columns and then negate your opponent. And if you're going first and you don't know what columns to set in, the middle column is a popular column. The other columns that are popular are the columns with the extra monster zone. Why? Because if they link summon, they have to go in the extra monster zone. So you can set this in the columns in those columns if you're going first, right? So yeah, feel free to swap this Card Demise for an extra copy of Broken Line because yeah, Broken Line is just such a good card. So that's the main deck. Let's get in the extra deck. Honestly, the extra deck is so like arbitrary and random that you can literally swap out any of these cards. These are just my extra deck is just a grab bag of miscellaneous random extra deck monsters that I just happen to own or afford. So it's Dark the Dark Charmer, Lord is Dark, Arcolino is Dark, Lina the Light Charmer, your Attendant Comica is a light. Let's see. We have Super Dreadnought. This is a rank 10, so you have 2 Lord of the Heavenly Prison. You can make this. Burn for 2k, right? Could help you OTK. Let's go with, what else? Big Eye. Your Administrator is level 7, so we can run some rank 7s here. Big Eye is good. Flare Metal Dragon is good. I think, again, I almost never use my extra deck. The one time I used my extra deck was for Flare Metal Dragon in that one game in my Adventures video. So Flare Metal Dragon, very good. Number 89 is also a really good level 7. Darkest Diablos. You can banish cards from your opponent's extra deck. It's just a generic level 7, rank 7. What else? Another rank 10. This one here. Sky Palace Gangaridai. So you make this for 2 lords. You can burn your opponent and pop one of their cards. So that's kind of cool. Unfortunately, Super Dreadnought Lieb is banned for some reason, so that's not an option. Soldier of Chaos. Blackluster Soldier, Soldier of Chaos. This card is like really good. It's just like a generically good boss monster. Since we don't have access code, it's banned. Yeah, you can make this card. 3 monsters, different names. If one of them is a level 7 or higher, and 2 of them, like 2 of your monsters are level 7s or higher, then this card becomes untargetable and undestructible. So yeah, very good, very good. Never came up, but might come up for you. Zeus, just because we have Xyz monsters, why not? Cicada King, whoops, sorry, not Cicada King. This one, Titanic Moth, number 28. So basically, you can attack directly, and you can also burn your opponent for each card in their hand. What else? Some rank 4s. Utopia is pretty good. Where is that? I'm gonna put in Utopia and Utopia Prime. Again, it just depends on what cards you own, right? I didn't own Utopia the Lightning, so, and I don't want to pay for it. Silent Arc, another okay rank 4. Evil Swarm, Exit Knight is a pretty decent rank 4. Baguska is banned, but Abyss Dweller is not. Yeah, just generic rank 4s and rank 7s, and a couple rank 10s. The cool thing about Amazement, unlike Eldritch or Lab, so Eldritch locks you into zombies sometimes, Labyrinth locks you into Fiend sometimes. Amazement doesn't lock you into anything, so yeah, it's very easy to access any of these cards on any turn, because you're not going to be locked out of them. And yeah, that's the deck profile. Again, feel free to swap out. This is just a tool bag of generically good extra deck monsters. Feel free to swap them out. They're not that important. They almost never came up for me. So yeah, that's it. Yeah, you should be able to easily use this deck to climb up the festival, get all the gems, and maybe if you want, get the other rewards too, like the icon or whatever. I didn't honestly. I didn't have that much fun in this event. I mean, I did have fun because, in the sense that like my deck was so much better than a lot of like these predictable decks, like Crusadia, zombies, whatever, right? Dark World. That it's just funny that like I just have so many more plays and interruptions than them, and I'm just a humble amusement park manager, right? That's all this is about, right? So yeah, make this deck, you'll definitely climb, no problem. All right, thank you all for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I hope that the 6-hour gap between this video and my Adventures of video, y'all didn't lose your minds too badly because I didn't release a deck list. Alright, see you in the next video. Peace.